Week 3 is here, and that means another DFS slate is ripe for victory to bring in some cash money on Sunday evening. We're going to focus where we always do, looking initially at our top game lines, and Cowboys Bears is the top line this week. In a week with so many QB injuries, any game with a 50-plus line is very, very appealing, and he's going to get absolutely hammered on any DFS format. As with many people, I'm going to be all over this matchup. And although it's projected to be close, Dallas are only 1.5 point favourites. I think I'm more interested in Dallas more so than that would kind of indicate. But there's reasons to be targeting both sides, isn't there, Ed?
Indeed, as we mentioned in our Fantasy 5 show, which is also available. If you haven't watched it, go and watch it straight away. Both defenses have been poor. The Cowboys have given up the third most fantasy points to wide receivers, the 11th most to running backs, and the second most to quarterbacks through the first 2 weeks. And the Bears have given up the 6th most to wide receivers, the 4th most to running backs, and the most points to quarterbacks. Let's have a look at the Bears, first of all. Obviously, you've got there on the graphic, Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, Adunze, and Swift. If we're looking at a Bears stack, it's probably Williams and Adunze, especially with what we've seen so far in relation to targets. And I think 11,600 is a pretty reasonable price point too. It will be interesting how Adunze and Moore's cost starts to converge over the season. Swift should be an option against Dallas, and £5,000 is a fair price. Just don't think I'd go for him. And tight end is completely off radar because we're not sure about Colston Loveland as it stands. There should be more to say, but there just isn't really. And it feels strange that in a projected game like this, DJ Moore isn't more appealing based on what we've seen so far. Maybe that's why he's worth going for this week, hoping to get the bounce back while people are out on him. Could be the keys to some money this week if people go all in on Adunze.
Yeah, they're the risks that you can take any single week, or if you put in multiple lineups and you can have that gamble, can't you? Because if that does turn massively, I can't see him being as highly rostered as we would maybe at the start of the season would have thought he would have been in this matchup with that point line. Cowboys, so Dak, CD, Pickens, and Williams are your headline players there. You can definitely work a Prescott Lamb stack in this week, and I have had a little play around with trying to do that. There's several players this week. I mean, I mentioned a couple later on that are really quite appealing from a lower price point. So that's what's going to give you the room. So I just think because it's possible, it's going to happen a lot. So my stack of the week will try to kind of move around that a little bit. Williams is definitely startable, but his cheap days are gone, it seems. No more do we get what felt like a fair price at the start of the season and turned out to be a bargain in the end. Pen up at 6,200. It's got to be business as usual, what we've seen first couple of games, I think, to justify that for you. I just think Jake Ferguson is also in contention for me if you want to go slightly different with your combination of players. I think he will still be targeted quite a bit. Only 2,600 and tight end 21 when it comes to Fantasy Game Day. Off the back of his 16.8 point weeks, I think he's a great option at tight end this week and someone I will probably be looking at. But my stack of the week comes in this game as well. And that is Dak Prescott and George Pickens. We spent a good proportion of the offseason saying mean things about George Pickens. And for me, that was because he was being billed as exactly the same as CD Lamb. We're going to see no different. CD Lamb said it's not a 1A, 1B. We've got 2 1s. We've seen a really nice compliment, actually. George Pickens is fitting into a really good role for the Cowboys. Great bit of business. I'll be 100% looking at some Dak Lamb stacks, as I've said, but I think maybe fewer people will go for Pickens is what I'm thinking. And I just think he got more targets last week. He looked more dangerous than the Chicago defense. We said he's given up a bag load of points to wide receivers. That being priced as QB 10 means I'm fairly confident it'll be a significant proportion of lineup. So I think you're just going to have to work out what's going to be a little bit different. And or maybe you ignore that. Maybe you go with it because it's obvious and go for Pickens or Lamb in a couple of, and then you looked at different elsewhere. I just think this week could be the week that Pickens really has a big game to justify putting him in. And I didn't think we'd be saying that in the preseason, Ed, if I'm completely honest.
No, we were maybe a bit mean, but he deserved it.
Before we move on to your stack of the week, then, Ed, which is even more controversial for us, to be honest, please do subscribe, like, and share. Give us a comment as well. Let us know who you are picking this week. Let us know how you got on so far with Fantasy Game Day as well so far this season. I mean, we've said that we've been critical of George Pickens. I mean, we are therefore right on brand for us in backtracking on things and picking players we've been mean about, Ed, with your stack of the week.
Indeed, I mean, my stack of the week. It's all about making money. I still think Aaron Rodgers is an absolute plonker, so there's no getting away from that. But yeah, I just think this could be a good value combination this week. Rodgers and DK Metcalf. Rodgers started really well against the Jets, quieter last week against the Seahawks. I mean, I'm mainly basing this on who they are playing, and that's the Patriots, who've allowed the most passing yards in the first 2 weeks, 677 yards total. DK's been solid, if unspectacular, across the first couple of weeks. 13 targets, 7 receptions, and that 1 touchdown last week. I just feel that this could be the week he clicks into gear and has one of those weeks where he explodes with a couple of touchdowns against that inferior defense. And it's just great value, Rodgers and Metcalf this week. And I'm not sure many people are going to be plugging that in. So although I'll have to wash my hands after I select them, it is one that I will be plugging into at least a lineup or two.
This is a week of making plenty of selections you probably wouldn't usually show off about, in fairness, and that's what the secret stack is all about. So that stack that you keep a secret unless it comes off for you, and we've been relatively successful with this, to be fair. This week, I think the way to go for a secret stack is you're going to pick one of the backup QBs that is coming into play, and that's what I'm doing here with Tyrod Taylor and Garrett Wilson. Now, usually I try to follow a bit of a thread of logic of why I think, looking at the situation, looking at what we might have seen so far, compare that. I'll be honest, this week is a dart throw into the unknown based purely on price, and that Taylor has absolutely nothing to lose, so may as well sling it like a hero and stick a few on Garrett Wilson. That's what I'm hoping for. A combined price of 9,200 on Fantasy Game Day and 11,000 on DraftKings. It's not the cheapest of secret stacks. We've had much cheaper in previous shows. Throwing Garrett Wilson in, so that obviously going to bring that up. But I just think playing the books, Wilson could have a busy day as Gangrene just try to do their best to hold on there. I do think the fact as well, though, that the books are so hammered on the O-line, and we're not sure if Ibuka is going to be in there, the Jets could end up being a bit more competitive than maybe we think they're going to be. So, yeah, this is one I'll be looking to maybe in a couple of lineups see what happens. I'll throw in as well, though, Ed, just before we started recording, it was confirmed that Marcus Mariota would be starting for Washington. It's a revenge game. He's got the Raiders.
There's secret stack, and then there's just plain ridiculous.
Well, Mariota, McLaurin, or Debo stack, I will be doing a £3 lineup somewhere on Fantasy Game Day. Just see what happens. Once again, I won't be talking about it again at all if it goes wrong. If it comes out, I'm going to be talking about it constantly. People hear that. Yeah, I love a revenge game narrative. Maybe it'll come off nicely. We shall see. Having a look at some captain picks then, Ed. We've got one that we're both quite confident in, haven't we, this week?
Yes, and it is the incredibly handsome man. We were commenting on that before we started recording. It's Bijan. I mean, we usually go a bit deeper, but it just seems pretty obvious. You're going to mention CMC in a minute, who again we're high on, but we're not going to be. We're not going to be repetitive with CMC again for a third week. Bijan is an incredibly safe captain this week, as he has got Carolina. They've not been the worst against running backs so far, but they've also not faced an absolutely top-tier elite running back yet. Travis Etienne and James Conner are good, but not Bijan good. He's been RB2 and RB7 so far. We're thinking this is going to be his first RB1 overall of the season, and it might be curtains if you don't have him as your captain. But there are other options at captain.
Yeah, Bijan would definitely be my favourite. I think we mentioned CMC is underpriced again for me, I think. So I think I'll be looking at his lineups. I think we can move past the fact he's going to sit out a little bit of kind of training each week because of his calf injury. He's an older running back. He knows what he's doing. If he wants to have a rest, he can have a rest. Got the Cardinals, so I think he could put big points. He projects to have big points yet again. So also to mention Jonathan Taylor, same price as Bijan. So Barkley, Taylor, and Robinson are all the same price. Taylor has got the Titans. So it's just interesting to note that in week 1, 100% of snaps on offense, and week 2, 93%. That is ridiculously high. And he's still doing the work, even with Danny Dimes, with his elite running work as well. Seen a little bit of that yardage. So, yeah, I think you could make a case at any of those. For me, I completely agree, though, Ed. It's the fact that he's against the Panthers and the fact that he's Bijan and the fact that he is, ridiculously handsome. Why are we plugging him into some captain spots too? Would you like a bargain now, though, Ed?
Let's do it.
Well, the first bargain is if you put the code THFF1 as you join this week on Fantasy Gameday, you get 1 free play with your first paid entry. And bargain number 2 is Jalen Naylor, £2,400 on Fantasy Gameday, reasonably priced $3,800 on DraftKings as well. With our bargain basket, these are always high-risk players. We are not expecting by any means these to be top scoring players on the week. They're players that will nicely repay you at the value you've paid to let you spend up elsewhere. These are sort of players that you look at if you're wanting to get a Dak and CD stack, if you want to try to throw Bijan in his captain as well. So his workload crept up a bit last week. He looks to be the Vikings wide receiver 2 currently, and that's got to count for something. He's only had 3.8 points, 6.1. No, that's not setting the league alight, but he has a friendlier matchup this week against the elite defense of the Cincinnati Bengals. So there's definitely a route to 10 to 12 points maybe this week. Not saying it's nailed on and saying, oh, nailed on. Excellent. I'm very pleased with myself.
Oh, very good.
But there is a sneaky chance of a touchdown too. Let's put the reason why it's so risky. He'll be catching passes from Carson Wentz. Or he'll be chasing stray passes from Carson Wentz.
Yeah, it's a great shout because, obviously Addison's out still at the moment. And, the Bengals struggle against the pass game. So could be another Egbuka style bargain basket success pick.
That is us then for our DFS Red Hot picks. The best of luck with your lineups on Fantasy Gameday or DraftKings. If you're over here in the UK, again, please do get involved. Use that code THFF1 for 1 free play with your first paid entry. And drop down the comments below any players that you think are absolute locks this week. I've not mentioned them yet. So in 1 lock, Jordan Mason at his price with Aaron Jones out. Lock him in your likes. Hopefully no one's listening at this point, so they're not going to copy his head. We shall see. Doesn't seem like much of a secret, though, if I'm honest. Anything to add? Or are we about done?
No, I think, shall I just call the taxi?
Oh, please do.
Malcolm, take us home.
You have been listening to the team from TH Fantasy Football. For more content, follow TH_fantasy_NFL on Twitter and Instagram.